أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu and welcome to today's class. I hope and pray that everyone is doing very well. Jazakumullah to you all for joining the class on time. We will begin with our opening dua. If you could please have a student to the mic.
Assalamu alaikum. Our first student is G2562.
Jazakumullah. G2562. Assalamu alaikum. G2562, can you come to the mic, please? Okay, let's choose someone else, please.
Yes, G2567.
G2567. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm very well. Jazakumullah for asking. So we are going to be doing the opening dua. So let's start with Dawood. Follow after me, please. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
Excellent. And let's go down. Tasmiyah, let's do this. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Excellent. Could you just read the translation for Dawood?
I seek refuge with Allah from Satan the rejected.
Good. And Tasmiyah?
In the name of Allah, the gracious, the merciful.
Brilliant. Well done. Let's go down to Tuesday's dua. We're going to read this now. Rabbi zidni ilma.
Rabbi zidni ilma.
Excellent. And the translation, please.
O my Lord, increase me in knowledge.
Good. Well done. And where's this prayer from?
Surah Taha, verse 115.
Brilliant. Well done. Surah Taha in the Holy Quran, verse 115. Brilliant. Well done. Jazakumullah. G2567. Allah Hafiz for now. Okay, so a quick reminder about class etiquettes. As always, please ensure that you have done wudu before you enter the classroom today. You should be wearing clean clothes and your head should be covered appropriately, please. It's also really important that you're sitting in a nice and quiet place, that you're able to concentrate throughout the class. And also that when you're called to the mic, that we can hear you clearly as well. Also, please ensure that your parents are nearby and ensure that you are logged in today with your correct ID. Okay, so today's schedule for the class is as follows. So after assembly, I will hand over to course in charge who has joined us today, and she will be delivering a presentation on the introduction to waqf or pausing in tilawat. Okay, so we'll have a short presentation on that. And then we will move on to looking at our practice text, and that will be continuing with chapter 2. So continuing with Surah Al-Baqarah, we'll be doing that today, inshallah. Then we'll take a small break at past to look at the QRS segment for today's class. And today we'll be focusing on part 7 of the Holy Quran. Then we'll go back to our practice text before ending the class without assigning your homework and the closing dua at 10:02. Okay, so as I just said, we have our course in charge with us today. So let me just request her to come to the mic. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
Yes, over to you.
Okay, then if you just bear with me, I will just share my screen. Okay, if I can just check with you that my screen is showing okay?
Yes, all clear.
Okay, alhamdulillah. Okay, so lovely students, assalamu alaikum. Hope and pray you are well on this rather wet day. Okay, waqf and pausing. Today we're going to have a presentation on rules of pausing. And this is because I think from tomorrow you'll be learning about the rules of pausing. And whilst you can learn the rules and learn to apply them, it's always good to know why you're doing what you're doing. So this presentation will give you a little bit of understanding as to the importance of pausing and pausing properly. So, okay, so let's start. And let's start by talking about a young lad called Zishan. Now, Zishan is a really lovely young lad, and he is really sociable. And in the summer, he really likes barbecuing. And he's always saying to his mum and dad, let's have barbecues, let's get my friends, let's get my cousins, aunts and uncles, let's get them all together. And he really enjoys eating the food from the barbecues. He likes the burgers, the fries, the chicken nuggets, the soft drinks. He enjoys his barbecues. And as I say, he loves to be sociable, and he always invites his friends over to join in with these things. And it's always done with his family. So Zishan is a sociable young lad. He likes his friends and his family, and he really particularly enjoys barbecuing and eating the food. So if I was to now say in a very short sentence, just to describe what I've just said about Zishan, I could say Zishan likes barbecuing and eating his friends and his family. Now, the way I've just said that sounds like Zishan likes to take his friends and his family, put them onto the barbecue, cook them, and eat them. Zishan likes barbecuing and eating his friends and his family. And that's because I didn't pause at the right places. So this is not really how we've just described Zishan. So let's try describing Zishan in a different way. Zishan likes barbecuing and eating his friends and his family. Now I've paused there after barbecuing, so you can tell that he likes barbecuing, but it still sounds wrong because it sounds like he likes to eat his friends and his family. And again, that's not quite right, is it? So let's try saying the same words again, but pausing in different places. Zishan likes barbecuing, eating his friends and his family. Now that actually describes the things that I said about Zishan. I used exactly the same words in all three sentences, but I paused at different places. And if you noticed, the meaning changed. It went from Zishan wanting to get his friends and family onto the barbecue, cook them up and eat them, to actually describing what he actually likes, which is to have fun with barbecues, to enjoy the food from the barbecues, and share that enjoyment with his friends and his family. So pausing is really, really important. It changes the meaning of what you're saying if you pause at different places. Now, Zishan is all well and good, but what does that have to do with Quran reading? Well, the Holy Quran contains the words of Allah. All the words that are in there are not from any human being. They're all the words of Allah. They are guidance for us as to how we're supposed to live our lives. So we definitely don't want to change the meaning of what is being said as we recite. Now, when we're reading, there are some chapters that we know from a really young age. Our mums and dads read them to us, and we learn to read them, memorize them before we've even learned how to read. And so when we do get to the Holy Quran, and when we read those chapters, we know where to stop because we've heard them so many times being recited properly. But most of us don't know the Arabic language. So when we get to different places in the Quran, to verses and chapters that we're not familiar with, we need to know how to pause. We need to know where to pause. We need to know where to stop. So we need to know how to do that. Okay, so there are some rules that you can follow, some guidance. You can stop at the end of every verse. it is sunnah to stop at the end of every verse. Now, sunnah is it's the practice of the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. The Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, always stopped at the end of every single verse. If you just bear with me for a second. Okay, fantastic. Okay, so he always stopped at the end of every verse. So here in the circles, you'll see in this version of the Holy Quran, in this font, the verses are in squares. At the end, there are squares, and they have they're actually Arabic numbers. They tell us the verse number that we've just read. Now, in different copies of the Quran, you'll see different symbols that mark the end of verses. In this one, they happen to be squares. Now, if I was to read this and pause at the end of every verse, if you just bear with me, I'll take the red circles off so you can see properly. I'll start from the tasmiyah. Now, listen to how I pause at the end of every verse and look what's actually on the screen and listen to how I'm actually going to read. So starting from the tasmiyah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Now pause there on the meme, but I didn't read the kasra that's actually written there. Let's move on to the next verse. Wal mursalati urfa. Now I paused there on a tanween stroke, but I didn't read it with any sort of nasal sound. Let's move on to the next verse. Fal ashifati asfa. Again, there's a tanween at the end, but I didn't read it with any sort of nasal sound. I paused there and I read it differently to how it's actually written. Moving on to the next verse. وَالنَّاشِرَاتِ نَشْرًا. Notice how I paused. فَالْفَارِقَاتِ فَرْقًا. فَالْمُلْقِيَاتِ ذِكْرًا. عُذْرًا أَوْ نُذْرًا. إِنَّمَا تُوعَدُونَ لَوَاقِعٌ. Okay, so two things I want to point out there. One, when I read and I paused at the end of every verse, I didn't always read exactly what was written there. And that's because, alhamdulillah, I know the rules of pausing, and so I applied those rules. The other thing to notice is that these are really short verses. So I was able to very comfortably read the entire verse without running out of breath. Now, this particular technique of stopping at the end of every verse so that you don't change the meaning, it works, it's fine, there's no problem with it. And it's fine because we have some short verses here. But there are verses in the Holy Quran which are much longer, and it's not possible to read the entire verse in one breath. Okay, so here we've stopped at the end of every verse. Now, as I've just said, it's fine for short verses to stop at the end of every verse. You can easily hold your breath for short verses. But we want to know what to do about longer verses where we can't get to the end of the verse in one breath. Now, there is a simple method of when you've run out of breath, you stop, you apply the correct rule, and you then go back a few words from where you stopped, and then you start again. And generally speaking, that method works. It tends not to change the meaning. So let's have a look at this, okay? And this is from Al-Mudaththir. This section is from Al-Mudaththir. So here you can see that the verse, it starts on the end of the first line, and it goes all the way down. 1, 2, 3, 4 full lines, almost 5 full lines. Okay, and this verse is actually longer. We've just taken this section out. So we can't possibly read all of this verse in one go, in one breath. So I will now read this, and what I'll do is I'll read and I'll pause here, okay, where the circle is. Okay, so وَمَا جَعَلْنَا أَصْحَابَ النَّارِ إِلَّا مَلَائِكَةً. I will start again here because I'm allowed to start from there, okay? وَمَا جَعَلْنَا عِدَّتَهُمْ إِلَّا فِتْنَةً لِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا لِيَسْتَيْقِنُوا. Now I've paused there so that I don't run out of breath, I don't become uncomfortable. So where to start? I'm going to start from here. Now notice when I stopped, I didn't read the fatha on the noon. Now listen to how I read now, okay? لِيَسْتَيْقِنَ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ وَيَزْدَادَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. And I pause there. And when I read the amanu, I read the nu for just 2 counts. There is a symbol at the top which tells those of you that know that I should actually read that for longer. But when I pause, I can only read that for 2 counts. Now, where to start? I will go back to here, okay? Now listen to when I read, when I get to the amanu, how long I read the nu for. وَيَزْدَادَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا إِيمَانًا وَلَا يَرْتَابَ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ وَلِيَقُولُ. Now I paused on the lam, but I didn't read the fatha. Now I've paused. I didn't want to run out of breath. I didn't want to become uncomfortable. But I need to restart without changing the meaning, so I'll start from here. وَلِيَقُولَ الَّذِينَ فِي قُلُوبِهِم مَّرَضٌ وَالْكَافِرُونَ مَاذَا أَرَادَ اللَّهُ بِهَذَا مَثَلًا. Now, in this section of the verse, I stopped multiple times and I went back a few words before I restarted. And when I paused, I applied the correct rules. Okay, so if you just bear with me, let me just, my animation is just going to play one more time here. Okay, now, the simple method of going back a few words from where you stop, you can use that method multiple times in any verse. Now you noticed how many times I stopped and went back. I could have stopped in other places and gone back as well. I'm just a little bit older, I can hold my breath a little bit longer, so I could read it a little bit faster in longer spurts than maybe someone who's younger. But you can use this method multiple times in any verse until you reach a suitable place to stop, and then you can carry on. And the important thing is the meaning must not change. When you're reading and you're pausing, you must not change the meaning. Now, at the moment, because you're young and you're reading the Quran for one of the first times, and most of us don't know the Arabic, it is difficult to know where to stop. But with experience, you will get to know. But you need to be aware that there are rules of pausing and that there are meanings, and the meanings should not be changing. So now we know roughly where to stop, and the next question is how to stop. Now you observed when I was reading, I didn't always read the fatha that was on the screen. I didn't always read the tanween that was on the screen. And that's because I know what the rules of pausing are. Because there are rules of pausing, rules of waqf. And from tomorrow, we will be going to that lesson number 21 in the Talimul-Quran, which is on page 85 of the hard copy. And we will be taking you through some of those rules. Okay, so that will start from tomorrow. And when the teachers have taught you the rule, then they'll demonstrate them in the Holy Quran. And then you can start to apply those rules as you read. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this presentation. I hope that's been informative for you, and that you've learned something, and that it's put the whole idea of pausing into some context so that you understand why we pause, because we run out of breath, that we need to pause at a proper place so that we don't change the meaning, and that there are rules of pausing and we have to apply those. And we will help you learn those rules of pausing from tomorrow, inshallah. And with that, I will hand back to the main teacher. Jazakumullah for your time. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. Jazakumullah for that very interesting and thorough presentation. And I hope all the students enjoyed it and were able to understand what was being taught. And as mentioned, inshallah, we will continue with this topic from tomorrow's class. Okay, so the next segment that we are covering today is our practice text. And if you cast your minds back to yesterday, you covered verses 1 to 5 of Surah Al-Baqarah with your teacher. So today we are going to carry on with Surah Al-Baqarah, and we are going to start with verse 6. So we'll have students on the mic. You please come to the mic as soon as possible, and then we will read the verses. If I could please have the first student to the mic, please.
Yes, our first student is G2 613.
G2 613. Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum assalam. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm very well. Jazakumullah for asking. Okay, so we are going to start from verse number 6 of Surah Al-Baqarah. And we are going to keep in mind all the rules we have learned so far, and we are going to be applying them to our recitation. Okay, so let's start with Dawood and Tasmiyah. So follow after me, please. Yeah, so just follow with me. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Excellent, good, well done. Okay, so this is verse number 6 at the bottom of your screen, okay? So this is the beginning of the verse. So please follow after me. أولئك على.
أولئك على.
Excellent, good. So over here, you can't maybe not be able to see it properly, but on top of the lam and top of the vertical fatha, we have a mud. Okay, so it's not very visible because the line is cutting out. So that's why we're going to spend about 3 to 4 seconds on that, stretching that sound. Okay, so let's. Excellent, good. And on top of the lam, we have a vertical kasra. That's why we stretched for 2 counts. Okay, let's go down. Hudam min rabbihim.
Hudam min rabbihim.
Excellent. Wa ulaika.
Wa ulaika.
Good. Stretch it a bit longer. Okay, so this type of mud, we have to stretch for about 4 seconds at least. Okay. Wa ulaika.
Wa ulaika.
Good. Humul muflihun.
Humul muflihun.
Excellent, good. Okay, let's just go back a little bit over here. This is a bit more of a difficult place in this verse where we have to be really careful with our recitation. Okay, so over here you can see that we have several letters that we have to join, and because they all have a shadda on it. Okay, we have this letter, we have this letter with a shadda on it, so we need to be joining them together. So we have to over here, yeah.
Hudam min rabbihim.
Good, well done, perfect. Okay, so over here we join the dal to the meme, mi, and then we join the meme to the ra. Okay, so we're just going to ignore the noon sakin in the middle over here, and inshallah later on in the classes we'll find out why that is. But for now, just know that we're going to ignore that and we're going to join the meme to the ra.
Because
Hudam, yeah,
the
just
meme and because meme and noon, they make a nasal sound, and if there's a letter with a shadda, you skip the letter before the letter with the shadda.
Yeah, okay, good explanation. Okay, inshallah we'll learn more about that later on in our classes. Okay, so we're joining the meme to the ra and then the ra to the ba. Hudam mir rabbi. So we have to be taking care that we're joining with force as well, because any letter with a shadda on it needs to be joined on with force. So that's something to be careful of over here. Okay,
Hudam min rabbihim.
perfect. Okay, let's carry on. Innalladhina.
Innalladhina
Good. Kafaru.
kafaru
Sawa'un
Sawa-
alayhim.
sawa'un alayhim.
Good. With over here, I think my voice cut out. So when you stretch for a bit long, then sometimes the voice cuts out on Zoom. So over here, we're just going to stretch for about 4 counts, just like we did for the lam over here, okay? So one more time. Kafaru sawa'un.
Kafaru sawahum
Good. Alayhim.
alayhim
Good. أأنذرتهم.
a'anzartahum
Good. أم لم تنذرهم.
am lam tunzirhum
لا يؤمنون.
ya yu'minun.
Okay, lam with the fatha and then an alif mud straight after it. So it's a 2-second sound. لا يؤمنون.
La yu'minun.
Excellent. Good. Well done. Okay. So in this verse, we have some letters of mud. So letters of prolongation. So for example, this over here, this is a ya mud because it's a ya sakin letter before carries a kasra. So we're going to stretch for how long over here? Can you tell me?
2 seconds.
2 seconds. Excellent. And then over here, do you know what this is called?
It's a sakun.
Yeah, the waw has a sukoon. Yes, you're right. So it's a waw sakin, but it's a special type of waw sakin. Do you remember what it's called?
Mud.
Yes, excellent. A waw mud. Because it's a waw sakin, like you said, and the letter before carries a dhamma. So it's a waw mud. So just like we did over here, we're going to stretch for 2 counts. Okay. Now this over here, do you know what this is?
It's a sakin ya.
Okay, good. But what stroke does the letter before have on it?
A fatha.
A fatha. So what does that make this then? The ya, what does it make it?
Maftu.
Not maftu. Maftu is when the letter carries a fatha. So the lam is a maftu letter, but this ya is a ya leen. Yeah, do you remember we learned this last week? A ya leen, because wherever you see a ya sakin and the letter before carries a fatha, then that makes it a ya leen. So we're going to pronounce this for 2 counts as well, but we're going to start off with the sound of the la and then end with the sound of the ya sakin. Alayhim.
Alayhim.
Excellent. Okay, so remember, make sure you keep revising all the things we've learned so far. So that's a ya leen. And then over here, like I mentioned at the end over here of this line, we have an alif mud because it's a blank alif and the letter before carries a fatha. Okay, so those were just a few things in this verse especially that we should be taking care of, as well as the other rules that we've learned. Okay, so well done, Jazakumullah. G2613
Can my sister have a turn?
the mic. What's your sister's ID?
G2606.
606. Okay. A discipline charge, is that okay if they come to the mic?
I'll tell you, Shal.
G2 can you just give me a minute and then I'll just choose another student
Yeah.
and then I will check it.
That's fine. That's fine. Okay, that sounds good.
We will call you.
Yeah, brilliant. Just before we do that, it's 1:30. So what we're going to do is just we're going to take a quick break over here. and we are going to look at the QRS part of today's class. Okay, so QRS part of the class is looking at the different parts of the Holy Quran and just learning a few facts about that particular part. Okay, so yesterday you looked at part number 6 with your teacher. Okay, and you learnt that part number 6 of the Holy Quran starts off with Surah An-Nisa, which is chapter 4, verse 149, and it ends with Surah Al-Ma'idah, which is chapter 5, verse 83. That's where part number 6 of the Holy Quran starts and finishes. And the first word of that part is La yuhibbullah. La yuhibbullahu. Okay, so that's the first word of part number 6 of the Holy Quran. Okay, so today we are going to look at part number 7. And part number 7 starts off where part number 6 left, of course, which is Surah Al-Ma'idah, which is chapter number 5. And it starts off with verse number 84. And then part number 7 finishes with Surah Al-An'am, okay, and that is chapter number 6, verse 111, so 111. So that's where part number 7 of the Holy Quran finishes. And the first word of part number 7 is وَإِذَا سَمِعُوا. وَإِذَا سَمِعُوا. So that is the first word of part number 7. So if you open the Holy Quran, and it's a really good practice to do that after class. So today we're looking at part number 7. So after class, if you get time, open up part number 7 and have a look. And the first word you'll see is this, وَإِذَا سَمِعُوا. Okay, and just have a look at what it starts off with, and maybe have a look at what the last word of that part is. Okay, so it's just a good activity for you to do, as well as your normal Quranic reading that you do every day. Okay, so those were just a few quick facts about part number 7. It's always really good to increase our knowledge about the Holy Quran as well as making sure that we're reading it correctly. We're applying all the rules that we're learning throughout this course, but also general facts about the Holy Quran to increase our knowledge. It's a good habit to do that. Okay, so we're just going to go back to our practice text and start off where we left. So we are going to start with verse number 8 now. So if we can have another student, please.
Yes, G2 606.
Okay, G2 606.
I'm G2 613. And
Yep.
my sister's, can I go check what my sister's doing, and then I will come back?
Okay, that's fine, but your sister should be sitting in class with you if she's a student, okay? So
But she has a different device.
she has a different device. Okay, can we see if 606 is on another device? If
It's
they're
not. That's why I called G2 613. But that's fine. We can move to another student.
Yep, that's fine.
Yeah. So next student is G2 578.
G2 578. Assalamu alaikum. G2 578, can you come to the mic, please? Okay, let's move on.
The mic is on mute. G2
Assalamualaikum.
Okay, wa alaikum assalam. How are you?
Good.
Alhamdulillah, that's very good to hear. So we are going to be carrying on, starting with verse 8 of Surah Al-Baqarah. Okay, so if you could start with Dawood and Tasmiyah, nice and slowly.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim.
Good. Nirrahim at the end, okay?
Khatamallahu ala
Okay, G2. Okay, just stay on the mic and just follow after me, okay? So what we're going to do is I'm going to say it and then I'd like you to repeat after me, okay?
Okay.
Okay, brilliant. Well done. I know you're eager to read and recite, which is really, really good, but we're just going to take it nice and slow so that everybody else can follow along as well. Okay, so we're starting from here. We're going to read Khatamallahu.
Khatamallahu
Excellent. Ala qulubihim.
ala qulubihim
Excellent. Wa ala sam'ihim.
wa ala sam'ihim.
Excellent. Try and make that ayn sound. Okay, I know it's not an easy sound to make and sometimes not a very natural one that actually comes from our throats, but we should try. Okay, so let's try that again. Wa ala sam'ihim.
Wa ala sam'ihim.
Good. Okay, well done. So we just need to make sure that it's different to the sound of an alif or a hamza. Okay, so someone listening to you, if they don't have the text in front of them, if someone is listening to you, they would know that you're pronouncing an ayn or pronouncing an alif or a hamza. Okay, that should be the difference in your pronunciation. So let's carry on. Wa ala absarihim.
Wa ala absarihim.
Excellent. Ghishawa.
Ghishawa.
Excellent. Good. So there's some places in the middle of the verse where you can take a pause and you have signs like this that tell you that you can take a pause. So it's best to take it and take a breather before you carry on. Okay, so that's why we just stopped there and we applied one of the rules of pausing, which inshallah you will cover in the next few classes. Okay, so it should make things a bit more clearer for you, inshallah. So let's carry on. Walahum.
Walahum
Adhabun azim.
azabun azim.
Good. One more time. Walahum azabun azim.
Walahum azabun azim.
Good. Over here, spend 2 seconds or 2 counts on this because this is an alif mud. It's an alif mud because it's a blank alif and letter before carries a fatha. So 2 counts over here, okay? Walahum adhabun azim.
Walahum azabun azim.
Perfect. Good. Well done. Really good recitation. Let's carry on. Wa minan nasi.
Wa minan nasi
Man yaqulu.
man yaqulu.
Excellent. So we joined the meme to the ya, but we made a nasal sound in between for the noon sakin. Man yaqulu.
Man yaqulu
Amanna billahi.
amanna billahi
Wa bil yawmil akhiri.
wa bil yawmil akhiri
Wa ma hum bimu'minin.
wa ma hum bimu'minin.
Excellent. Good. Well done, mashallah. Really good recitation. So let's have a look at a few rules that we have to be careful of over here. So this is, can you tell me what this is? What I've just highlighted, what is it called? Do you remember this rule that we learnt? It is an alif, yes, well done, but it's a special type of alif. Alif mud. Do you remember that? Do you remember when we learnt about letters of mud? And alif mud was one of the things that we learnt?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is an alif mud. Can you tell me why this is an alif mud? Okay.
Because it's alif lim.
Okay, what this is an alif mud because it's a blank alif, yeah, it doesn't have any sign or stroke on it, and the letter before carries a fatha. So that is why this is an alif mud. Okay, and whenever we see an alif mud, we have to stretch for 2 counts, which we did over here. Okay, so do you remember that rule that I've just explained?
Yeah.
Okay, well done. Okay, so make sure that after class, if you're a bit unsure, you can always go back and refer to that again. Okay, and then over here, we have a waw mud. It's a waw sakin, letter before carries a dhamma. So again, 2 counts we're stretching this for. Qulu. Okay, waw mud over here. Then over here again, we have an alif mud because it's a blank alif, letter before carries a fatha. Okay, so it may be that the letter before also carries another stroke or another sign. For example, over here, it carries a shadda, but as long as it carries a fatha and the next letter is a blank alif, then that is an alif mud. Okay, over here, this is a wawleen. It's a wawleen because it's a waw sakin, letter before carries a fatha. So over here, we made the sound of yo. Okay, we started off with the sound of ya, ended with the sound of waw sakin. So that's another rule that we've learned before that we apply to in today's recitation. Then again, we have an alif mud over here. And then we have a ya mud over here. Okay, so I'm highlighting all these places so that you can see that what you've learned throughout this course so far, these are the rules that you're now applying in your recitation. Okay, so it's just really good to be aware of all these rules that we are looking at. Okay, so Jazakumullah G2578 for coming to the mic.
Jazakallah.
Jazakumullah. Can we have another student, please?
Yes, our next student is G2657.
G2657. Assalamu alaikum. 657. Okay. Can I just quickly announce that everyone should be seated at their devices, so whether you're on laptop or you're on your phone, and you should be ready, okay? You should be hearing out. If your ID is called, then you should come straight to the mic and accept the request to unmute. If you do not do that straight away, then we will move on and carry on with another student on the mic and you will miss your turn, unfortunately, okay? So we do want to try and get as many students to the mic, but with these kind of things, they do delay the time a little bit. So please do that, make sure that you're doing that, make sure you're seated and concentrating throughout the class. Okay, Jazakumullah. Can we have another student, please?
Assalamu
Yes,
alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. Who is that?
G2657.
657. Okay, next time, please do come quickly to the mic, okay, so we don't waste any time.
Yes, sorry.
No problem, that's fine. Okay, so we're going to carry on with the next verse, which is verse number 10. So if you could start with Dawood and Tasmiyah first, nice and slowly.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Good, nicely read. Okay. يخادعون الله.
يخادعون الله.
Good. Try and make that ayn sound if you can, okay? Let's try that again. يخادعون الله.
يخادعون الله.
Perfect. That was really good. Okay, that ayn sound you made really nicely. So from now on, wherever you see an ayn, try and make that correct sound. وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا.
والذين آمنوا.
Perfect. وَمَا يَخْدَعُونَ.
وما يخدعون.
Excellent. إِلَّا أَنفُسَهُمْ.
إلا أنفسهم.
وَمَا يَشْعُرُونَ.
وما يشعرون.
Okay, Ain has a dhamma. وَمَا يَشْعُرُونَ.
وما يشعرون.
Okay, let's try that again. Ya has a fatha and Ain has a dhamma. Okay, يشعرون. وَمَا يَشْعُرُونَ.
وما يشعرون.
Excellent. Okay, so just be careful. Look at the exact stroke that's on the letter and make the correct sound. Okay, well done. Let's move on to the next verse, which is verse number 11. One moment, let me just move this. Okay. في قلوبهم مرض.
في قلوبهم مرض.
Good. فزادهم الله.
فزادهم الله
مرضا.
مرضا.
Excellent. So we're just going to take a pause over here because of this small sign that comes over here. Inshallah, you will learn later why that is, but we're just going to end with the sound of what we've just done, okay? And then we're going to carry on. وَلَهُمْ عَذَابٌ.
Sorry, where are we?
Over here.
Oh.
وَلَهُمْ عَذَابٌ.
وَلَهُمْ عَذَابٌ
Good. أَلِيمٌ.
أَلِيمٌ.
Excellent. So usually the tanween would make the sound of a noon at the end. But because of this little meme over here you see next to it, that means that we're going to end with the sound of a meme. So that's why you said mum. Okay. Inshallah, again, you will learn more about this later. But for now, just know that that's the sound we're going to make. Alimum bima kanu.
أَلِيمٌ بِمَا كَانُوا
Yakdhibun.
يَكْذِبُونَ.
Excellent. Good. Well done. Now let's have a look at a few rules over here that we're applying. So over here, this is a yamad. So we learned this last week, I believe, or the week before that. And we learned that this is a yamad because it's a ya sakin, letter before carries a kasra. So we stretch this for 2 counts, okay? This is a, do you know what this is?
A vowel
Yeah.
mud.
Excellent. Good. It's a waw mud because it's a waw sakin, letter before carries a dhamma. Okay. And then again, this is an alif mud over here. It's a blank alif, letter before carries a fatha. So we need to be careful there as well. This is an alif mud as well. This over here is a ya mud. It's a ya sakin, letter before carries a kasra. This is an alif mud. This is a waw mud. And this is a waw mud as well. Okay, so lots of places in this verse alone where we are practicing the rule of mud or letters of prolongation. Okay, so let's do one more verse. Let me just get rid of these highlighted sections to clear the page a little bit. Okay. وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ.
وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ.
Good. This qaf, try and make a thick sound. وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ.
وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ.
Perfect. لَا تُفْسِدُوا.
لَا تُفْسِدُوا
فِي الْأَرْضِ.
فِي الْأَرْضِ.
قَالُوا.
قَالُوا
إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ.
إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ
مُصْلِحُونَ.
مُصْلِحُونَ.
Excellent. Good. Okay. Now let's have a look at a few rules in this verse. So over here, can you tell me what I've just highlighted? What's this called?
Alif.
It is an alif, but what type? What kind of alif is it? It's a special type. It's a letter of prolongation. So what does that tell us? That might help you a little bit. Alif mud.
Alif mad.
Yeah, alif mad. Okay, well done. What's this?
Yalin.
Okay, not yalin. It's a ya mud. Okay, it's a ya
Yam.
mud because wherever you see a ya sakin and letter before is a kasra, then that is a ya mud. A ya lin would be if we have a ya sakin and the letter before carries a fatha. Okay, that would be a ya lin. but well done. And over here, this is a waw mud, okay? And then we have a alif mud over here and a waw mud over here as well. Okay, so those are where all the places that we stretched for 2 counts because of the letters of prolongation. Okay, well done. Jazakumullah G2 657 for coming to the mic and reading with us today. Allah Hafiz for now.
Allah Hafiz. Jazakallah.
Okay, so that was Surah Al-Baqarah. We managed to get to verse number 12. And mashallah, everybody read really well and understood the rules. It should also help you to understand where there may be room for improvement as well. Okay, so if there's any of the words that I mentioned or a student mentioned that you weren't too sure of what they were, then make sure that you refer back to the appropriate lesson and you rewatch it so that you become comfortable with that particular rule. Okay. Just going to set the homework, but before that, just as a reminder, today we looked at a presentation on the topic of introduction to waqf or pausing. And as was mentioned in tomorrow's class and a few classes after that, inshallah, you will be looking at the rules of pausing and understanding that, inshallah. Then we had a look at our practice text in which we continued with chapter 2 and mashallah, everybody read really well. We also looked at part number 7 of the Holy Quran and we learned a few facts about that particular part. And your homework for today's class is to continue your practice. Okay, so make sure that when you practice your daily tilawat, when you recite your daily tilawat, then make sure that you apply all the rules that we have revised so far in your daily tilawat. Okay. And with that, we're going to go on to now doing our final prayer. So if we can please have a student to the mic.
Yes, G2724.
G2724.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, fine. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm very well as well. Jazakumullah for asking. So we are going to start with Dawood and Tasmiyah. Would you like to read that, please?
Okay. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim.
Excellent. Just before we move on to Tasmiyah, over here with the noon, when we join it to the sheen, do it with force, okay? So don't leave any gap in your pronunciation with that. So we're going to say minash shaitanir rajim.
Minash shaitanir rajim.
Excellent. Read that one more time, Dawood.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim.
Excellent. That was perfect. Well done. And Tasmiyah?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Excellent. And let's go down to the concluding prayer. Okay. Would you like to read by yourself?
Yes, please. Allahumma arhamni bil-Qur'anil azim.
Perfect. And the translation, please.
Oh Allah, have mercy on me through the Quran the Great.
Ameen. Well done. Jazakumullah for reading that for us today. And Jazakumullah to everyone who joined in today's class. Please ensure that you continue with your daily recitation of the Holy Quran and make sure that you're applying all the rules that we are learning during this course. And inshallah, we'll speak to you all again same time tomorrow. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.